Every big cat is considered a good hunter, but these cats stood out for their incredible ability to hunt people and spread terror and chaos. Follow below. In the Panar region, a leopard discovers that humans are an easy source of food and starts attacking villages, spreading fear among local residents. Without food sources, lions in Njombe reach villages and begin to devour people. In the hills of Nepal to India, a tiger spreads horror by killing women and children. In 1918, a leopard terrorized a village, lost more than 20,000 hunters and devoured hundreds of villagers. At the beginning of the 20th century, in the Panar region of the Almora district, located in Khemao, northern India, a cholera epidemic ravaged the local population. Driven by a lack of basic sanitation and limited medical understanding of disease transmission, cholera was caused by the ingestion of water or food contaminated with the Vibrio cholerae bacterium. The disease led to symptoms such as severe diarrhea, rapid dehydration, vomiting, and muscle cramps, resulting in death within a short time if left untreated. Mortality rates in Panar were high due to the lack of quick access to medical care and widespread misinformation about preventive measures. The bodies of those who had died from the disease were scattered throughout the jungle, often abandoned out of fear of contamination. With little natural food available, a large male leopard was drawn to the corpses and began devouring them. The abundance of bodies led the big cat to develop a taste for human flesh. This became an easy food source, and the animal realized a new way to survive. When the epidemic ended, the corpses naturally stopped appearing. However, the leopard did not return to its natural diet. With its food supply cut off, it began hunting humans. For days, months, and years, the animal relentlessly attacked and killed hundreds of people. Terrified and desperate villagers continuously tried to hunt the feline and set traps to capture it. To many, it was seen as demonic, a creature that seemed more than just an ordinary animal. However, the leopard was extremely silent and had developed the ability to recognize traps. It was a master of camouflage and ambush, rarely seen until the very moment it struck. On some occasions, the big cat even broke into houses and dragged people away in front of their families, spreading even more fear and despair throughout the communities. Jim Corbett, a renowned hunter, heard about the ruthless leopard and became intrigued. In 1909, he arrived in Panar and quickly began his search. He investigated and spoke with locals until he reached the home of a man who had lost his wife in an attack the night before. They had been at home, the 18-year-old woman sleeping beside him, when the beast sank its teeth into her throat and dragged her away. The man tried to hold on to her, and the leopard failed to take her, but she did not survive. Her body, left in the small room, bore bite marks on her throat and deep gashes across the upper part of her body. Even more determined to capture the leopard, Jim continued his hunt. Leopards typically hunt by targeting the neck of their prey, ensuring a swift death. A single bite can tear through or damage the jugular veins and carotid arteries, leading to rapid blood loss. The spine can be crushed and the skull punctured, exposing the brain. Additionally, their teeth carry numerous bacteria, making survival nearly impossible. After months of studying and trying to track down the creature, in September 1910, Jim followed the beast trail, walking 30 miles through heavy rain in the dense forest. He arrived at a remote village suffering from a leprosy outbreak, where he received news of a recent attack in a nearby settlement. After trekking across hills, crossing a river, and sleeping under the open sky, he reached the village. 4 men had been killed by the leopard. Determined, Corbett used 2 goats as bait and waited. However, the cunning feline managed to snatch one of the goats and escape. 3 days later, Corbett used the same tactic and waited once again. After an entire day of anticipation, the leopard finally appeared. Jim fired a shot, but the animal still managed to flee. That same night, Jim gathered a group of armed men with torches and set out to track the wounded beast. With the animal injured, their chances of catching it were high. Deep in the forest, the leopard emerged, causing most of the men to flee in terror. Fortunately for Corbett, some light from the fallen torches remained, just enough for him to see and take another shot. And so, the legendary man-eater was dead, bringing an end to its reign of terror. It is estimated that the leopard carried out hundreds of attacks, causing at least 400 deaths. In 1932, in Njombe district of southern Tanzania, the British colonial government was attempting to control the spread of the rinderpest virus. Since Germany's defeat in World War I in 1918, the Treaty of Versailles had mandated the redistribution of German colonies among the victorious Allies. The League of Nations entrusted the administration of Tanganyika, now Tanzania, to the United Kingdom. Now, a devastating virus was wreaking havoc across the colony. Rinderpest spread rapidly through southern Tanzania due to contact between infected animals, cattle movement, and the lack of local immunity. The disease decimated livestock, leading to famine, migration, and economic collapse for communities that depended on cattle. To contain the situation, the British government sent men and ordered the culling of all cattle. As a result, many wildebeests, antelopes, and zebras were also killed. However, what seemed like a solution soon turned into an even bigger problem. With the loss of prey, all wildlife was affected, especially the lions. Nearly all populations that had once thrived in a balanced ecosystem abundant with natural prey were forced to migrate to other territories where food was more plentiful. However, one group remained and began searching for alternative prey. It didn't take long for them to reach villages and adapt to the humanized environment. Taking advantage of the vulnerability of the settlements, they started attacking people. The pack was fast and intelligent. They managed to avoid detection and did not immediately alarm their targets. It is believed that they used an intricate relay system to drag their victims into the bushes before killing them. The exact methods remain unknown, but it is thought that they marked the bodies in some way, maximizing efficiency and keeping them hidden for as long as possible. The group thrived and grew to 15 members, becoming even more efficient. They became notorious for their ability to hunt humans. The lions attacked villages and rural areas, usually at night or at dawn when people were most vulnerable. They acted in a coordinated manner, hunting together more frequently, an unusual behavior for felines, as many lions typically hunt alone or in small groups. The victims were often people sleeping in straw huts or rural workers out in the fields. In many cases, the lions broke into homes or work camps, catching humans by surprise. They also targeted the most vulnerable, women, children, and men who were alone or in small groups. Moreover, they attacked with precision. The beasts also targeted travelers, especially those on long journeys through the region, such as workers moving between villages. The Njombe lions exhibited highly unusual behavior for their species, as lions typically avoid direct contact with humans. However, these big cats showed no hesitation in invading inhabited areas and attacking. Their lack of fear and persistence in hunting people suggested that they had adapted to this new way of survival. The number of attacks increased progressively and alarmingly, with the lions striking more frequently over time. The local population began to fear the attacks and adopted safety measures, such as night watches and makeshift fences. In response to the numerous deaths and attacks, the British administration sent professional hunter George Rushby to deal with the situation in 1947. Rushby was tasked with hunting down and killing the creatures responsible for the Njombe attacks. He and his team spent months tracking and hunting the animals. The process was difficult and dangerous, as the lions displayed remarkable resilience. After an intensive hunt, Rushby and his team successfully killed all 15 lions, putting an end to the threat. Once the lions were eliminated, the attacks ceased, and the Njombe region returned to relative normalcy. It is estimated that the man-eating lions killed between 1,000 and 1,500 people during the attacks, which lasted from 1932 to 1947. The episode remains one of the most notorious cases of lions hunting humans in a coordinated and persistent manner. In the early 1900s, in the hills of Nepal, a few people were attacked by a tiger, but the incident did not receive much attention. The region's forests were dense, and reports of wild animal attacks were sporadic and isolated among the villages. However, as time passed, the deaths began occurring more frequently. Before long, the killings reached alarming levels. With nearly 200 lives lost to a single tiger, the local government decided to take action. Residents living near the forest lived in constant fear of becoming the next victim. Their livelihoods were also at the mercy of the terrifying predator. As the death toll continued to rise, panic spread like wildfire. Local economies collapsed due to the widespread hysteria. The Nepalese army was called in to eliminate the animal. The soldiers, mostly from the hill regions, were well acquainted with the forests. However, what seemed like an advantage proved to be useless. Whenever they managed to locate the tiger and fire at it, the beast escaped unscathed. Traps were also ineffective. Even the shikaris, highly skilled hunters, failed to capture it. After hundreds of deaths, the Nepalese army, along with desperate villagers, finally managed to track and corner the tiger, driving it toward a river that marked the border between Nepal and India. This was a desperate attempt to expel it. As expected, the tiger crossed the river and entered Indian territory, where it remained. The animal made its way to the Chapawat Hills, where it resumed its killing spree. In the following 4 years, it added 234 more victims to its already horrific count. The tiger hunted people across various villages, particularly in Chapawat. One of its victims was a young woman who was cutting grass with a group of other women. At one point, she became isolated, providing the tiger with the perfect opportunity to strike. The other women witnessed the attack and ran to seek help. They reported the incident to some of the village men, who armed themselves and tried to confront the beast. However, when they arrived at the site, they heard a terrifying roar and fled in fear. The Chapawat Hills were marked by days of fear and terror. The tiger became notorious for attacking mainly women and children due to their smaller size and vulnerability. Additionally, it carried out most of its attacks during the day, unlike most tigers, which prefer to hunt at night. After devouring so many people, the animal completely lost its fear of humans. The British colonial administration, which governed India at the time, as well as Tanzania after World War I, received reports about the urgency of the situation. It was a calamity, and swift action needed to be taken. They sent professional hunters to track and eliminate the tiger. Jim Corbett, the renowned and experienced hunter, was called upon and sent to capture the beast. He arrived in the Chapawat region armed not only with his rifle, but also with intelligence and a full understanding of the complexity of the task ahead. Recognizing the challenges, he employed a combination of traditional hunting methods and innovative strategies. He set traps and created ambushes, using his knowledge of tiger behavior and patterns to predict the creature's movements. After months of intense pursuit, Corbett was closer than ever to achieving his goal. He devised a strategic plan to finally bring down the beast. He positioned villagers on one hill, opposite another. The plan was simple yet ingenious. The villagers would make as much noise as possible to drive the tigress out of her hiding place, forcing her to expose herself. When that happened, Corbett, positioned on the neighboring hill, would have the chance to take the shot. With the villagers making noise about 150 meters away, Corbett sprinted through the rough terrain to his position amid the tall grass, praying for a good shot. He fired, hitting the tiger in the rear. The animal snarled and fled. Corbett quickly tried to aim again, but missed, as the tiger managed to hide. Frustrated, he heard the villagers cheering, believing the tiger had been killed. However, as he searched, he spotted the creature standing on a rock, showing its teeth and ready to strike. Calmly, Corbett crouched and fired once more. This time, the bullet struck the infamous animal, which he discovered was a female. The reign of the Chapawat tigress, as she came to be known, came to an end. The villages, which had lived under constant terror for years, finally found relief. Corbett's expertise was crucial in closing this dark chapter in the region's history. An autopsy conducted on the tigress revealed that her upper and lower right canine teeth were broken. This injury, caused by a bullet, had rendered her unable to hunt her usual prey. Without sharp teeth to bring down more difficult targets, the tigress was likely driven to desperation, turning to attack humans, which were easier to capture and kill. Despite this, the tigress was in good health, estimated to be between 10 and 12 years old. While the exact start of her killing spree is unclear, It is believed she began attacking people in the early 1900s and died in 1907, with estimates suggesting she killed over 400 people. The tigress later became known as the deadliest tiger in the world. After capturing the creature, Corbett headed to the Panar region in northern India, where a leopard had been relentlessly killing several people. In the 20th century, in the village of Rudraprayag, located in northern India at the base of the Himalayas, an outbreak of influenza claimed many lives. The corpses of the deceased were often disposed of in isolated areas of the forest. A leopard, attracted by the scent, began to feed on these bodies and eventually developed a taste for human flesh. In 1918, when the epidemic subsided and the bodies were no longer an available source, the animal began to attack living humans, seeing them as potential prey. At the time, Rudraprayag had a population of approximately 50,000 people and was strategically located along an important pilgrimage route. In the following years, the attacks became more frequent, causing panic among the villagers and attracting worldwide attention. The animal, known for its strength, was capable of carrying people in its mouth and even climbing hills with them. Despite numerous attempts to capture it, local hunters repeatedly failed. The leopard showed great skill in evading traps carefully set in the forest. Even when hunters and armed soldiers were mobilized, the leopard managed to evade capture. It even ingested different types of poison, yet showed no apparent effect, which only fueled local legends about its resistance. The villagers believed that the animal seemed to thrive, growing stronger and more cunning. Over the years, the leopard successfully avoided all methods used to kill it, including traps, firearms, and even grenades. Given the severity of the situation, the government offered a reward of 10,000 rupees for the capture of the beast. Despite this, the leopard continued to elude around 20,000 villagers, hunters, and soldiers who came from various regions to try to stop it. In addition to being incredibly dangerous, the Rudraprayag leopard also demonstrated impressive intelligence, which contributed to its reputation as one of the deadliest and most cunning beasts in the region's history. In 1925, Jim Corbett, the veteran hunter of animals that had turned into man-eaters, arrived in Rudraprayag to confront the threat posed by the leopard. Corbett began by studying the animal's habits and attempted to capture it on several occasions, but none were successful. In one attempt, he was surprised by another leopard that drove him away. On another occasion, the animal captured was not the correct leopard. Local superstition contributed to the tense atmosphere, suggesting that the leopard might actually be a half-human being. The situation escalated to the point where the villagers captured a suspect they believed to be the beast and planned to lynch him, but they were stopped by a local authority. Corbett was facing a formidable challenge. One night, after setting up a trap, he returned to his bungalow. The next morning, upon inspecting the area, he saw his own footprints in the mud, with the marks of a leopard perfectly fitted into each of them. As Corbett studied the scene, he felt a chill as he realized the leopard had followed him. Not only that, the animal had tracked every step he had taken the previous night, even reaching the door of the bungalow. This incident left the hunter shaken, causing him to redouble his caution. Eventually, Corbett determined that the leopard frequented a specific stretch of road between Rudraprayag and the nearby village of Galabrai. He set up a platform in a tree and tied a goat with a bell collar as bait. For 10 days, Corbett patiently remained at his post. Finally, the leopard took the bait. Corbett shot, hitting the animal. The next morning, he followed the wounded leopard's trail until he found its body. The animal was elderly and bore numerous scars, evidence of a tough life filled with conflict. Over the course of 7 years, the Rudraprayag leopard was responsible for at least 125 deaths before finally being tracked down and killed by the famous hunter. These were some of the deadliest animals in the world, with their victims together totaling over 2,000. They spread fear and chaos in their regions, and their fame instilled terror in many others.